Nerd Skool is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Now offering video visits so you can take control of your orthopedic care from the comfort of your home. Schedule online at orthocarolina.com. Ortho Carolina, you improve.
Hey, fellows. It's the first snap of another season.
Nerds roll. Nerds roll.
Oh, my glasses are broken.
Surprise me. My pocket is protected.
Surprise me.
I'm a super nerd.
Surprise me.
Okay.
Excelsior.
I am a super nerd.
The Nerd Skool Podcast.
Starring Andy.
I am a former entertainment journalist.
The Star Spangled Band with a plan.
TBJ.
Welcome. Congratulations. You did dirt. Ta-da. I got no shame. I am what I like to call a surprise nerd.
Art
I
Star.
am not an incel.
Dark Star. He's the nerd Gotham City deserves.
And yours truly, call me Joe.
Joe Bird.
Okay, so we got to the title sequence, and then it was level 7. We are at war. What do we do? Avengers title, and then the Black Widow scene happens, and this is one of my all-time favorite scenes from all of Avengers. Like when I think Avengers, I picture this scene with her being interrogated, quote unquote, by these guys that are giving her everything. And they're like, "What? I don't give everything." Like that. And then she kicks the shit out of these guys. Sometimes I watch this scene like 2 or 3 times before I can even move on because it's so great. Like all the way back to this whole scene. She is the super hottest.
You have a thing for Natasha,
ever, and she's kick ass. I think
you felt that.
Apparently
I think you felt that way.
And it's like there's some really good.
I was going to say I think you felt about her.
There's some really good fight choreography here.
I was going to say I think you felt that way
About her
in,
what, Art?
what was it Iron Man when she got introduced in Iron Man?
Iron Man. Yeah, she
Iron
was
Man
super,
2.
but I've gone through my life I don't particularly. I don't think Scarlett Johansson.
So
I
do
don't
you hate
walk around
Colin
and think,
Jost?
Scarlett Johansson's really hot, but no, I love Colin Jost. I think he's hilarious. That might make me like her more that she likes a funny man. Like anytime a girl likes a funny guy, I'm always like, yes.
She was married to Deadpool for a little while, Ryan Reynolds, right?
I don't.
Yeah.
Were they married?
They were in something.
Yeah, they were.
He's been with Blake Lively so long. I'm just like, they've been together.
They don't want. He doesn't. I don't think he wants to work with her. Or something or another.
Yeah, he won't be in. He refused to be in whatever the big next thing that Deadpool's going to be in with everybody else because she was in it. So they had to promise him that she won't be in any scenes with him.
So whatever happened in their breakup wasn't cute.
No.
Well, I mean, think about it.
Oh yeah, they were married from 2008 to 11.
Well, how can she have any relationship really? Because she's like top of the game, right? How can anybody that's top of the game?
But there are plenty of people who have relationships that are top of the game.
You don't think Ryan Reynolds is top of the game?
Yeah.
Oh, he probably is. But
he's been married to his current wife since 2012. So that's almost 10 years, 9 years.
That's good. Who's he married to? A star?
Blake Lively.
Yeah.
Is that a country singer?
No, she was in Green Lantern with him.
I'm thinking of Blake Shelton.
Same difference.
Different person, different gender. No, but think about your Nick Fury. Sam Jackson's been married for like 1,000 damn years.
Yeah, he's a good.
Yeah. Washington's been married for 1,000 years.
Well, we talked about this too.
Tom Hanks, Rita Wilson.
Yeah, Rita Wilson. Yeah.
Reputation and what they do.
Maybe those guys need to write a book about how that works for them. But I always think with Scarlett Johansson, I'm afraid it's not going to work out with Colin Jost because he's the head writer of SNL. But what is SNL compared to Marvel? Like, Marvel's Marvel. SNL's just SNL. Like, right?
But maybe she's marrying him based on actual liking him and not career choices.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just assume people's careers get in the way. Maybe.
Well, because there are a lot of people who marry not actors, and that does well too. So maybe she needed someone who was not an actor.
Yeah.
And the afterlife is you don't have a regular job unless you're on like a sitcom for 10 years, and that's rare. And there's a lot of traveling. There's I have to go to Vancouver for 6 months. How do we work a family around this?
Yeah, I don't know how anybody would.
Yeah. So it's a little rough.
So that said, I don't think I'm going to be starting a relationship with Scarlett Johansson.
All right. I
think Colin would fight you, so you're fine.
Well, I don't want her any other way except for this scene.
So she would only have to show up as Black Widow for you to be.
And she'd have to, even the shots of her walking away, holding her shoes, like a girl does on the dance floor or whatever. That's so badass to me. It's
she's letting everyone know she put in work.
Let me get on in my business. My shoes. Yeah. It's like I don't need. I hold my shoes just like it's just so badass that I love it, and I love how it's.
Yeah. The fight choreography of this scene in particular is pretty cool. It's I love the bit where she's jumps on a guy and then falls down and it plants herself on her hand, and you hear the slap against the metal, and but she's able to handspring herself back up into a cool kicky thing.
Yeah.
I love the flip and the chair smash as well.
It's badass.
His foot. This moron's giving me everything. I love that whole thing.
Yeah.
That's I think my favorite scene. That's the only thing I have a heart emoji next to. And then my next thing I wrote, and you're going to have to translate this, Art Star. Art Star is like the Joe Whisperer. I always write this mess, and I don't know what it means, and Art seems to understand what I mean. So I wrote Easter egg or chicken. I wrote Strike Team Delta, Abidjan operation.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So I guess I was asking if this is an Easter egg. So this part, or maybe I was going to ask if this is in the comic. So I think what this is they talk about calling in Black Widow and Barton, and they show on the screen this footage of those two fighting together during the Abidjan operation, the previous operation. And they were called Strike Team Delta. They said, we got to call them Strike Team Delta? Okay. So I was going to ask you guys, is that something somewhere, a Strike Team Delta?
Not that I'm aware of, but there's a chance that they're going to go into the Black Widow movie, because they've promised, they have the line later in the movie where they're this reminds me of Budapest all over again. And then Hawkeye is like, you remember Budapest very differently. They're apparently supposed to go into what happened in Budapest in the Black Widow movie.
So maybe it's an Easter chicken.
So there may be some history between. Yeah.
So that would be an Easter chicken. I think part of my question, too, on this was, I still don't know if I grasp the difference between an Easter egg and an Easter chicken, even though Art's explained it 14 times.
The Easter chicken, I believe, is something that is dropped into the movie that may not necessarily ever be built on. It may not mean anything, but if someone in a later movie says, how about we take this line from this movie and do something with it now,
okay,
that's the chicken.
And the Easter egg is
whereas the
pretty
egg
much an
is
homage to something, or like a shout out, or a kind of a callback to something.
Yeah, so an Easter egg is that's something normal people, not that you guys aren't, normal people use, right, in DVDs and stuff. It's they dropped this little Easter egg. They mentioned or whatever it is.
You know what? Now I might be confused. I might have just described an Easter egg, and then I have to think of what an Easter chicken is.
No, I think you did it. I think you're right. I think Art made up.
Easter chicken.
Right?
Yeah.
But
the way Andy just explained
it, right, Art?
To me, it's like it's an Easter chicken. Captain America,
but that's also kind of an Easter egg.
Say it again.
No, an Easter
egg is probably more intentional. Right. We're going to drop something in here that's going to pay off later. We know we're going to do that. Whereas the Easter chicken hasn't necessarily laid the egg
Easter
yet.
Chicken, a perfect example of Easter chicken is Sharon Carter is a Skrull. That's an Easter chicken. Because they pushing it. A lot of nerds out there are trying to push it, but there's no guarantee that Sharon Carter is a Skrull. Whereas if Sharon Carter was a Skrull, and we knew that she was a Skrull, it would have been an Easter egg. Okay?
But if it turns out she is a Skrull, then it stops being an Easter chicken and starts being an Easter egg. Is that right?
Friend. Evolution.
That's what Neil deGrasse Tyson would say about.
I don't know if that's exactly what Neil deGrasse Tyson would say, but okay.
Well, I just saw he was explaining that the egg came first because what happened was an egg hatched and something that wasn't quite a chicken came out. And that evolved as evolution came, and that laid an egg that became a chicken.
And I also just saw a meme today that was like, you know what? Before chickens or birds even existed, like turtles and shit, and dinosaurs were laying eggs. So eggs existed before the chickens. They just weren't bird eggs. They were like turtle eggs and lizard eggs and shit like that.
But so I'm going to try to explain. Okay, and then we'll move on real quick. But I think so. Like an Easter egg is like in Hulk when they did the David Banner music, like the Incredible Hulk music. Like that old music, that's an Easter egg because, like, young kids won't know what that means, but old Hulk fans are like, yes, that's it. That's an homage like that.
Okay, so it's like shout-outs to nerd shit they're not necessarily going to use or do anything with, whereas Easter chicken is more like a plot point. Like,
from what I understand, what Art would say is like, say somebody was creating Iron Man 17. They went back to Iron Man 2, and they took that line where he's like, I don't like to be handed things. And then they make this backstory, this flashback to when his mom was handed something and there was a bomb, and that became, like, it wasn't going to be, like, when they wrote that, it was probably just a Robert Downey Jr. improv line. But then later in episode 17, they make it a thing, you know.
Right.
Right? Is that good? You got to get that patent.
Joe is learning.
You got to get
Joe is learning.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm getting dumber. I'm not entirely sure. I'm still not sure.
What if the only thing Joe learned from this whole experience is the difference between an Easter egg and an Easter chicken? It's like he gets this quiz, and the only thing he knows is the answer to what an Easter chicken is.
I only learned what Art Star teaches, so
I felt like I had it down cold until I explained it, and then I figured, like, I don't know if that's right, what I just said.
You're like, wait a minute.
It made sense to me. Okay, back to the movie. We got the line, "Get the big guy," and she goes, I mean, Tony Stark? Okay, I'll get the big guy. Yep. And then she uses the old Gamma expert need line on him to get him. And I just stopped and I said, I love this. I love this whole gathering the gang thing. Like, this is my favorite thing in movies in general. Like, when they have to go gather everybody. It's like, oh, let's get the gang back together or whatever it is. Like, where they have to go to each place and you see their backstory. Like, that's why every superhero movie of group tandem like this should be. Like, go see each one of them in their elements. And, you know, I just love it. I love the gathering of the gang. Okay, what's he doing? Oh, what's Iron Man doing? What's so-and-so doing? It's just a cool excitement, especially because this is the first one of the big group movie. Mm-hmm. And they're just getting everybody that we've already established. It's just cool. The Cap punching bag scene.
Yeah.
And that was, that's the famous thing with the bag flying off.
And he breaks it, and he has like 5 of them because he's a super tough man.
Yeah. And
he's working off frustration for missing his date with Peggy Carter and waking up 70 years in the future.
Yes.
Right. He didn't get his dance.
Iron Man. We got the Iron Man scene. Yeah, he never got his dance.
Want to make fondue.
Yeah. But I get that cap punching bag scene. Isn't that also an after credits? Isn't there?
Yeah, that's the teaser at the end of Captain America for the first Avenger.
Okay, so
they just basically play that scene, or at least a part of it.
A part of it, gotcha. So that's cool. That's an actual scene in there, and then we get to the Iron Man scene where we get Coulson's first name is Agent.
Which is why I thought we talked about this before, because I went on the whole thing about how cute it was. That
we did a little bit. It must have been Andy's plot point.
I think it was like 12% of a moment.
Yeah, we get the 12%.
We did like 12% of the whole movie before.
That's a callback. That's an Easter egg. I think.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
This was one of my favorite parts because it was like, what? How do you know him?
Well, I feel like is this the first time we see Gwyneth Paltrow and him together as an apple?
They made out at the end of Iron Man 2, I believe.
Yeah, but we don't see them as a couple until now, right? Like,
we haven't seen like their actual interplay.
And so we got Coulson awkward during them kissing. Why is he Phil? Coulson continues the awkwardness in the plane with Cap. I love that awkward Coulson that he's being developed into this like awkward weirdo. It's like, oh, I love your cards. You know,
he's a nerd.
I'm a collector.
I like that he had input in the design of the Captain America costume.
Yeah.
Yes,
he's a Captain America nerd. I think that that was like, what would nerds actually do if their superheroes came to life? They'd awkwardly try to be friends with them.
Yeah, that whole
That's
thing.
it.
I love that, and that establishes Coulson as such a likable guy. Like, and so you're even more heartbroken when he dies. I think. And that actor,
Clark Gregg,
yeah, he's great.
He was also in the new Adventures of Old Christine, and now it's the new Avengers of Old Christine from Louis Dreyfus in there.
Yeah, you've mentioned that in 3 episodes.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any funnier.
It is funny, Joe.
It ain't even my joke. I just forgot.
I really just sometimes now it's like I can just pick on Andy to get Tiffany riled up.
And as you see, Art Star is not the bad guy.
Leave Brittany alone. Yeah,
I forgot Clark Gregg was on that show, and now I remember it.
Okay, Loki Chitauri scene with "You Think You Know Pain" scene. And I still don't know about these guys, but
Chitauri are just hired goons. Thanos is hired goons.
Yeah, and there were. I remember Andy when you were teaching me hero clicks. Never mind. We'll talk about this later. Those guys that come down, they fight those gold guys in those gold things. Like, I feel like there was a hero click that looked like that, a bunch of those, but they were like some other bunch of guys.
I'm not sure. Are you talking about the Checkmate hero clicks? They were in gold and black outfits.
Oh,
that's
probably.
DC. That's DC's version of S.H.I.E.L.D. is Checkmate.
Oh, check.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who cares?
People care.
Oh, kick-ass aircraft carrier. So we talked about that thing because Andy kind of mentioned how they brought that to life. And that thing was kick-ass when that takes off. So.
Yeah, I mean, you take it for granted the later you get, but when you first see, this is a helicopter. This is an aircraft carrier that can fly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And we talked about that quite a bit. But, yeah, that's a cool thing about going back to watch this movie is it makes you realize how cool all this stuff is when you're first seeing it. You know?
Yeah. And you realize why nerds have been salivating for this movie for so long, and why, and like moments like that are like you get the sense of why this has survived so long enough, like how many like the decades it's been, just the sheer amount of imagination and wonder and interesting concepts and crazy ass shit that can now be realized in movies with like a sense of reality to it, which they really couldn't pull off before. And why so many people enjoy this shit, like just on paper, and seeing it in live action is just, this is the mind-blowing thing. It's like everyone understands comics now.
Yeah,
to a point.
I'll admit I had limited knowledge of the Avengers. I think I knew who they were because you were telling me about them. I got that book or whatever, but I remember when you first were telling me they're going to put the Avengers together, that's going to be the first big. I was kind of like, there are no X-Men. Like, X-Men are the shit. Like, Avengers, man, who cares? Why?
Yeah, for a long time in comics, the Avengers were kind of like the X-Men kind of exploded in the 90s, but even before that, like the X-Men were the kind of the cool ones, and the Avengers were the da-da-da-da.
Yeah, they were the lame, old, crappy.
But they were the premier Marvel superheroes, but they were just kind of also ran because the public awareness of like Iron Man and Captain America, like they had some cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons, like stretching back in the day, but they weren't really a huge part of the cultural zeitgeist until this hit, and now, which is like, which is why even some of the nerds
Zeitgeist
from the we can just keep calling it Zeitgeist. I just like when I get to drop that word.
Lord.
Okay, Banner's got his gamma searching plan. That's how. Hey, it's Susie. He's gonna search. He's got to. We'll search for gamma, and that's how we'll know where this thing is. And I guess part of my question is just occurring to me now. Is this just a way to tie in Hulk and him, or is gamma generally Loki and all that use gamma, or like is this whole gamma shtick a thing from comics, or is this something they use to? Oh, let's use gamma. We've established that with a Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, gamma equals Hulk, but I think they just sort of said, "Oh, the Mind Stone emits gamma radiation." Just like that was probably written into the script just for a reason to hook the Hulk in. But they've kept with that in the point, like back in Endgame when the Hulk puts on the glove, like he's like, "This thing emits gamma radiation. It's like I was made to do this."
Right,
and he's the one that brings everybody back.
Well, it kind of makes it fit snugly together.
Yeah. I mean, like they sold it, but it is. Yeah, I don't recall anything about the Mind Stone having anything to do with gamma radiation before. But then again, my knowledge of the Infinity Gauntlet comics are not encyclopedic.
Yeah. Okay, Barton. I'm going to throw my first shade here. Barton needs a distraction and an eyeball. The way he whips out that bow is stupid, and he sucks.
Okay.
Like when he what I'm talking about when he whips out that bow. I guess I should turn my camera back on.
Yeah, I think there's an extended version of that scene that I don't know if it makes a difference.
I need a bow. I need an eyeball, and then he goes. But he does that several times. He whips it out, and it's. Sucks.
When I was watching this, it's like I was thinking about how you have some nerds out there who, not even nerds, some people who kind of dumb down some heroes or villains because to them, they seem to be one dimensional, and they don't really look at the bigger picture. Like I was like, Joe probably hates Oliver Queen as well, and it's like because for him it's just a guy with a bow and arrow, but it's like his
yes. Anybody with a bow and arrow,
but they're like Barton is more than one dimension. Like he's a great, as we see in this movie, he's a great pilot. So it's like he has more to his character.
Yeah, he is.
Remember, this is Joe who also didn't like Bucky for random reasons. Joe decides.
There's a lot of people out there who look at people like there are people out there like, for instance, they'll say like Iceman. Oh, he just has ice powers, or this person just has that power because all they see is like, oh, this guy can shoot fireballs out of his hand.
Like Aquaman.
And it's like their character seems one dimensional.
Aquaman's a great
example. Aquaman is quite powerful. But all people think about is Aquaman. He can talk to fish.
Did you terrible?
Yeah. The talk to fish thing. You remember that from the state? It's like,
why did you call him terrible?
No, I don't mind Aquaman. It's just like he was always the joke. Like growing up, like nobody wanted his underoos. And there was that.
I had his underoos. I had that damn orange.
I've always been kind of biased towards Aquaman because his first name's Arthur.
And he was a trendsetter.
Oh, yeah.
Arthur Curry.
But you remember that sketch on the state, that old sketch show that was on
yeah, we all remember that.
MTV, because it was really funny because they were like, Hulk, you go smash, and Flash, you go run real fast, Superman, you go to this, Aquaman, why don't you go talk to some fish or something? And then everybody starts laughing. All the other superheroes are laughing at him. It's like a famous nerd sketch. You don't remember that?
No, but like that's been a running joke,
a running gag
for a long time in various nerd circles. Like, Aquaman is lame. But I think that's why they went all Jason Momoa with it. It's like, who can we get to completely counteract that image?
Okay, Tiffany is down TF.
Listen, he's a married man, but if he wasn't,
TBJ, DTF.
He wasn't.
JM.
Only if he wasn't married to Lisa Bonet, the goddess.
Wait, he's married to Lisa Bonet?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, more respect to that gentleman.
And it's one of those situations where he saw her once and he was like, I must get with her. And then
did he say it like
She's
that?
She's got to be old enough to be his mom.
No, he talks about it in an interview. He was like, I saw her and I was like, I need to be with her. She is older than him. She is a cougar in this situation.
She is still hot though, so.
Yep.
He knew what he was doing. He's not.
And her daughter with Lenny Kravitz,
Zoe.
She's real beautiful. Probably
Zoe
is going to play Catwoman in a new Batman movie. I think.
Wait, what?
She is.
They have number one. They have a daughter. That's
well,
famous?
the two of them have two children who are still young.
Really?
The older is Lenny Kravitz's daughter, his stepdaughter.
Okay.
He and Lisa Bonet have two children who are like preteens to.
Wait a minute. Lisa Bonet and Lenny Kravitz broke up?
Yeah.
Where were you been? They broke up way back when.
What?
The Batman movie with Robert Pattinson is going to be. It's just the Batman coming out, and Zoe Kravitz is going to play Catwoman.
Robert Pattinson, isn't that the guy who plays Harry Potter?
Yeah,
he's in
Harry Potter, but he's Cedric.
He's the guy who plays Twilight.
Hopefully Batman
and he walks up and shines and sparkles in the sun.
He's
and
the
says,
vampire.
My name's Twilight, and I am Dracula.
Batman
I have no idea what we're talking about now. Wait, who's playing Batman? Harry Potter is Batman?
No.
Cedric Diggory.
Robert Pattinson, who was in Harry Potter, will be.
Oh, the red-haired kid?
No.
God, well, who the hell's Cedric Diggory then?
Cedric Diggory died in like the fourth movie, which is like the first one I saw.
It was his competitive when he was competing.
My daughter's TikTok name is Cedric Diggory's wife.
Then she knows. She's wise.
I'll ask her who that is. She loves that guy, whoever that is.
He died playing a Richie Broom flying game, but he also was in Twilight as the sparkly vampire that Kristen Stewart was in love with or psychotically obsessed with.
So my daughter's going to want to see Batman?
Probably a new one.
When does this come out?
I don't know, next year or something maybe.
Do they make it yet? Or
they've released one teaser trailer for it.
Aren't they close to finishing production?
So I gotta finish watching the Dark Knight stuff and Ben Affleck ones first, right?
You
want to
finish watching the Dark Knight?
I'm not done with the Dark Knight ones. I'm up to I watched the one with the Joker. I haven't watched the one with Bane yet.
Bane.
Watch those.
Okay. Coulson. Oh, we got the Coulson's near mint fangirling bit. Loki's at the fancy gala. This is kind of a cool thing. The eye gouge scene.
Yeah, it's a great look at like Loki's kind of getting off on the power.
Yeah,
he's got the power. He's getting off on the intimidation, like the way he watches the crowd scramble with that like evil little grin.
Oh, and this is what I wanted to ask you guys, and I think you kind of touched on it that I didn't understand. Is what's the how does he work? Like, what's this whole thing? Because his costume shows up out of nowhere.
He's magic.
He's a trickster. Yes.
Is it in another dimension? And he's pulling it from another dimension?
He himself is just magical, period.
Like, he's good with illusions. He's good with trickery. He's good with fake outs. He's good with skullduggery. Like,
skullduggery!
You have about a month.
It's just
about a month to bone up on Loki.
Speaking of bone and skullduggery.
Actually, he doesn't really have to.
No, I was just watching an episode of He-Man where Skeletor yells, "Skullduggery!" And he's made of bone. So,
see, this is what
but you don't really have to bone up on Loki because the Loki at the end of this movie is the Loki that starts the Loki series.
Okay.
So you need to know, I mean, there may be some references to everything.
You also just keep trying to make him like a regular dude, Joe. He's not a regular dude.
Wait, so you're saying this series takes place right after this movie, so it's a prequel?
I don't think it doesn't take.
Not
I don't think it takes place. It just
is
it's that Loki from this time. Loki from this timeline is what the series is supposed to be about. So it's not taken up from this point.
Oh, wait, there's a different timeline, Loki?
Because at the end of Endgame, shenanigans happened where Loki escapes before, like in the regular MCU, Loki's held prisoner at the end of this when he goes back to Asgard and he's in jail for a while. We'll see that in Thor 2 when we get to that. But in Endgame, there's a alternate timeline where he escapes thanks to the time shenanigans that go on into we don't know where, and we assume it's the multiverse, which is what Loki is going to be about. So we don't know if he's jumping between timelines or dimensions or what.
I don't know if
don't think about it. You always sound like you're having every time you guys jump ahead and talk about another thing. Joe's like, oh,
because I think that's why I stopped watching them all, because it got too beyond my brain capacity. I was like, I don't know.
I don't think it's too beyond your brain. You just have to write questions when you watch them, or do what I told you. Just watch it for fun.
For fun,
or
dissect it for the first time.
Or start a podcast with a bunch of nerds that'll explain it all.
Yeah.
That's what everybody should do. All right, so the kneel before me scene, and that old man who stands up, and it's like, not for you. And then
there are always men like you. That's a good kind of fuck you Nazis thing.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's the Cap fight. That's a pretty good fight. I like all these different little fights that they do. Like, so and so against so and so. There's all these little matchups.
I like that. Captain America reacts to hearing AC/DC is a thing that happens in the MCU.
Right.
They're fighting Loki and suddenly AC/DC starts blasting. Captain America and AC/DC had never been in the same brain space ever. And I like that Iron Man has wrestling entrance music. Like he blasts AC/DC and then he shows up.
Yeah.
And speaking of reindeer games, refers to Loki as reindeer games.
Well, that was my next thing. I wrote reindeer games, Rock of Ages, Capsicle. Iron Man comes through with the trifecta of hilarity.
I just realized we weren't talking about reindeer games while we were recording. I mentioned reindeer games earlier, so never mind.
It's okay. Tell the audience we had a sidebar comment.
Oh, but we've talked about that maybe on a previous, but yeah. So yeah, Tony Stark calls them reindeer games. He calls Thor Rock of Ages. And then he says, or is he? No, maybe he calls Loki Rock of Ages. I can't remember. Then he says Capsicle. Says you were a Capsicle. And then Loki Thor bit. They recap the past. Tesseract's gone. Shakespeare in the Park is another thing he says.
Yeah,
that's Mother's Grapes.
That is a reference to how Thor has always talked in the comics.
Yeah.
Until this point, it was like he always he's a Norse god, but he talks like he's out of a Shakespeare play.
Yeah,
which is it sounds old timey and highfalutin, but it's like they really don't quite go together.
That's right.
But it worked in the '60s, but then and I think they do a good job as balancing that. Thor in this, he talks a little loftier. Like Loki's mind is far afield and shit like that, but he's not.
It's not full Shakespearean,
and he's not pompous about it. He's just. It's he speaks.
It's just the way he speaks. Yeah. No one's
it's
like
sometimes elevated and sometimes it's not, because he'll be talking about something lofty ideals like this, and then suddenly he'll go into you guys don't have Bildschneip, the little things with the things.
Yeah, the Bildschneip bit. Yeah, I have that later. So. Yeah, so I just love all this, the banter between Thor and Iron Man. So Thor showed up, obviously. The Shakespeare in the Park, he's making fun of you're wearing mother's drapes. Iron Man, we got the Iron Man and Thor, the kick-ass fight. That's always fun when two heroes fight and kind of see that you're not sure who would win, and they're both badass. Cap intervenes and put the hammer down. No, don't tell him to put the hammer down. He loves that hammer. And then we have that whole shot where that was the shot I texted you guys. I love this, and Andy couldn't tell what it was, but it was right after the hammer hits the shield, and it clears the trees, and they all fall down, and then the smoke clears, and we see a shot above them. They're all three laying there. And I was like,
they all kind of wake up, and Cap's like, "Are we done with this bullshit?
Yeah.
Can we get back to business?"
And so that's why I was like, I had to pause it and take a picture of my TV screen. So I was like, I love that shot.
Yeah. Superheroes, when they first meet, always fight over misunderstanding.
Yeah,
that's an absolute comic trope.
Yeah,
that happens all the time.
And I'm sure all the nerds were just like, hooray! At that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Loki's in the cage made for Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Point Break.
Ant meet boot.
Ant meet boot. Yeah.
Let me know if Real Power wants a magazine or something.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's great too. I love that he calls Thor Point Break.
Yeah.
Iron Man. The guys played Galaga. We talked about that. Selvig figured out how to stabilize the quantum tunneling effect. I had to write this down because I was like, wait a minute. What? He figured out how to stabilize the quantum tunneling effect. And I was like, is this just...
It's science babble. It's kind of
science babble. Like, it's not a real... Like, it's just something...
There might be some elements of... I don't know how much research they did into that, but it's basically what you do to make your science guys sound smart.
Well, and then... and then I think they go back and forth. The two... Iron Man and Hulk are like, oh, the heavy ion fusion at any reactor. And they're, they're just talking and they're science.
They're vibing.
It's basically, these guys are smart and Captain America doesn't understand.
Yeah.
But it also kind of, like, for a while after this movie, like, there was a lot of nerds really liked the bond between Tony Stark and Bruce Banner. Being science bros, like there was and I think like Ruffalo and Downey like really played with that a lot on social media. They kind of liked the fact that there was a little cult around their friendship, and it's kind of cool just watching, like looking at Tony Stark having a peer.
Yeah.
Like so much is made about how he's the super genius that everyone's jealous of. Like, if you remember Iron Man 1, Jeff Bridges flipping out, Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps. Like, everyone's impressed with him, but, Bruce Banner's on par with him.
Yeah, I love it. And I love their little banter back and forth. And then, so I wrote down a couple other things they said. The heavy ion fusion, the Homer cluster, teraflops.
Yeah, I like it. I like how Downey sells. Like, I'm sure he doesn't know what he's talking about, but...
Teraflops, that can't be a thing.
Teraflops is a thing.
And then I love the bit about... It is a thing? Teraflops are real?
Yeah.
How many teraflops you got in your apartment right now, Art?
I mean, I think all the terms they use are real. I just don't know if they necessarily make sense.
Well, that was what I was going to ask. What the hell is teraflop?
It's all about.
I mean, we wouldn't know because we're not.
I think teraflops is like a unit of measurement, if like terabytes, something like that. But it's for something in physics.
Well, I want to know that. So if you're listening and you're a physicist, tweet us.
I can already tell you, it's a unit of computing speed equal to 1 million floating point operations per second.
Boom! TBJ coming through with the plan.
It's my PhD in Google. You're welcome.
So, okay, so we had Iron Man ask Hulk what's his secret. Is it mellow jazz, bongo drums, or a huge bag of weed? Cap breaks into the vault because he wants to know. They convince him S.H.I.E.L.'s not great. They're doing some bad shit.
They're not being honest with them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Jane Foster is safe.
Captain, he's the spy. That scene with Tony Stark, Captain America, and Bruce Banner all kind of debating how, like, it's interesting because Cap is directly out of the 40s, so he's, believing in the command structure. Yep. And he needs people like Tony Stark and Bruce Banner kind of... And the fact that he doesn't believe Tony Stark until Bruce Banner backs him up. And then I think this was an improv bit where Downey was like eating little snacks or something, and then as soon as Banner sort of backed him up, he gave like, "All right, now you can have a little
blueberry."
Yeah, gave him a blueberry, and it was really cool. And I love the idea that Steve Rogers does not like a guy like Tony Stark.
Yeah, because he's against
like just that
against
whole,
the structure he grown.
He's anti-establishment. Yep. He's very disrespectful to everybody.
Playboy, billionaire, philanthropist.
I like that conflict, and I like that they didn't shy away from like how they like a guy like Steve Rogers and a guy like Tony Stark until they realize what they have in common are gonna butt heads.
I just love it.
And now, like at the time, I don't think we knew that they were laying the groundwork for Civil War, but then
that's probably right. Yeah. Yeah, we had no idea. But I just love that. He was like, take away the suit. What are you? Genius, playboy, philanthropist?
Yeah, that was in all the ads.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah, genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Yeah, that was funny. All right, James.
Everything special about you came out of a bottle. That's another thing.
That was
like
good.
Everyone reveres Steve Rogers and Captain America. They still do. Like we saw Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like everyone kind of has that borderline or like that baseline respect for Steve Rogers. But Tony Stark, grew up hearing about how great he was. So initially it was like, ugh, my father just would shut up about this guy.
Yeah.
And then isn't afraid to just talk shit to Steve Rogers all the time. Yeah. And like he sounds like an asshole, but he's also the only guy that talks to Steve Rogers like this.
He's kind of an asshole. That's what we established at the beginning.
He is an asshole.
Not kind of.
Yeah, he's an asshole. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just like the character interactions are like what really gets to people, like watching that stuff. I mean, if we didn't have moments like this, like all the explosions in the world don't really mean a lot.
Yeah.
But if like you get people invested in the characters that are going to carry them through 22 movies or whatever, then yeah.
So we find out they tell Thor that Jane Foster is safe, kind of setting that up for the next Thor movie. There's a bilge. It mentions the bilge snipe. The Loki speech to Natasha while Cap finds the Hydra mask. Loki and Natasha are talking about.
I love that she uses the same technique.
Yeah.
That used with the Russians.
Yeah,
where she gets everything from you by playing into what you think she is.
Yeah. And he gives that big long speech to her. It's like, oh, that's your play, the Hulk.
And Loki thinks he's messing with her by playing up to her first and then turning the evil on.
Yeah.
And I remember the word quim is old timey, super dirty. It's basically the equivalent of the C word.
Yeah.
And I remember reading something about how Joss Whedon was super happy about being able to sneak that by the censors.
Of course he was.
Yeah.
Gross. That makes him even grosser.
Yeah.
I still don't even think I know or remember what he's done, but I'm sure it's bad. Phase 2 is we find out now phase 2 is that the Tesseract makes weapons and Rogers is pissed. We get the big argument scene that we talked about. Above or below angry bees? Like where are you? Above or below angry bees? Like where are you on a threat level? I feel threatened. I listened to that argument like 3 or 4 times. So
I love listening to just hearing what people are, even when they're talking over each other. I try to hear everything that they're all saying because I want to see all their perspectives.
I can't remember who he said that to, but I think Tony said that to somebody. It was like, "Oh, are you above or below angry bees? Like what of a threat are you?" And I can't remember who he said that to. And then he was, "I feel threatened." That was a threat. I feel threatened. Those were the funny bits. The genius playboy billionaire philanthropist line. Iron Man has the best lines, I said. And Cap keeps telling him to put on the suit. Put on the suit. And then boom, the explosion. Put on the suit. Yeah, I'm going to put on the suit. It's the explosion, and he's got to put on the suit. That was kind of a funny little transition. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. It's like that's like basic superhero teammate stuff is we'll butt heads until the shit hits the fan and then we work together. That we know when to put the bullshit aside.
Yeah, I love that. That's how Donnie Bales and I are. Then Hulk shows up chasing Black Widow. And this part, I keep thinking it's like, this is like a horror movie inside of an action movie. Like the normal person running away from a monster, and she's hiding. She's got to hide, but then she's also a badass that can fight. So.
Yeah, but what I love about this is like she's been a badass this whole time. But this is the thing. Like I talked about this before. This is the thing she's terrified of. She has no power over the incredible goddamn Hulk.
You can't trick the Hulk. You can't outpower the Hulk.
I mean, Hulk is trickable in general, but this version in a small enclosed space, he is mad at her for bringing her into this. He hasn't been out of Bruce's body in over a year, which is another thing. Like it's so perfect, and I love how it shell shocks her. Like that whole experience, like she almost died.
Yeah.
She could have been killed.
Yeah. And you see emotion from her. You see fear from her, which you'll probably never see. You don't see much from her, but it humanizes her, and it puts you in with her, and she's a great actress. So it's like she gets that little bit of time to act. Because a lot of times I think Scarlett Johansson's a pretty good actress to just be in this action movie, but this is a moment where she gets to actually act a little bit.
Yeah, and and like she knows that she has to figure out how to stop this guy, and she can't. Like she's trying things, and it plays into the next Avengers movie the next time we see them too, and that I really like that. But we'll talk about that when we get to Age of Ultron.
Because I don't know where.
But I just think this is a great moment to sell how scary the Hulk is.
Yep.
Before and why he has the reputation of being this terrible thing, this curse. Yeah. Before, by the end of the movie, everyone fucking loves him.
Mm-hmm. This whole bit does a lot for both of them, I think, establishing the characters and just the chaos of it all. Like, they're under attack, and they're in this giant thing in the sky, and the Hulk's breaking everything, and it's just this whole panicky thing. So, kind of quick in the movie. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if we're happy.
And then the Hulk versus Thor fight, which is what people have wanted to see forever, because those two have fought each other many times in the comics, and it's.
So I wasn't aware of that. So you guys probably were all waiting for that. To me, that was all new, but it was cool. I was like, oh my gosh, their whole big fight. Meanwhile, Captain America and Iron Man having to work together to do those repairs.
Yeah,
and it's just like
it was the most exciting engine repair you're ever going to see in a movie.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it was like
it's a team building exercise, is what this turns into.
That's a good point. That's exactly what it is, and it's like,
yes,
yeah, Cap's not afraid to shoot people and throw people.
Yeah,
even though I was realizing this, like those guys are like mind controlled shield agents that he's just throwing out of the thing.
Yeah.
But
he doesn't really know that, though.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, they could be goons. He doesn't know anything about them. He just knows they're trying to kill him.
Yep.
And
so
he's chucking them out of there and shooting them with machine guns and
stuff.
One
of my favorite moments was during this, engine repair scene when Tony's telling him what to do, and then finally Captain yells, "In English! Speak English!" Like, I don't know what he's using all the science to, he's like, pull the red lever. But that's when he yelled that at him. That's exactly how I feel anytime I talk to. This is going to be an inside thing for only a few people, but Robert Schoeneman and Morgan, when they work at the tech team, when they talk to each other, when Schoeneman and Morgan, like they used to get on the radio and talk, and I would have what are those two talking? Like, what? They're not even speaking English. Like the technical terms those two are using, they are Iron Man and Hulk. And I always want to just speak English. Like. Robert Schoeneman will come up, like when you're walking with him, and it's time for him to walk the other way to go home. He'll say, "This is where we bifurcate." Several staff, when they first met him, his first question to them was, "From whence do you hail?" Like, that's how he speaks to people in a normal world. Robert Schoeneman will probably never listen to this podcast, but if he does, I'll shout out to him. And they hired Morgan to translate what Robert was saying, just so you guys
pretty much.
But I love the bit where he pulls out the whole panels, and they said, "What does it look like?" And it appears to run on some form of electricity.
Yeah,
that's all he can say about it.
Yeah, that was hilarious too. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that because I heard that and I didn't write that down, but that was a laugh line for me. Then we got the fighter jet Hulk bit. The fighter jet thing, and Hulk, we talked about that.
It's like I said, Hulk is the living embodiment of fuck you.
Yeah.
That's what I said before, because he doesn't care about Thor anymore because that asshole's shooting at him.
Right.
So he doesn't care what happens. He needs to beat that guy up.
Yeah.
So he jumps on a jet, not caring where he's going to end up. He's on the plane. He needs to get to the guy to let him know he's mad.
And keep in mind, this is all this stuff I'm saying is just like boom, 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 boom. It's like fight, explosion, fight. Barton and Natasha start fighting. We get that whole fight. And that's a good fight, too. Yeah. Like, even that, like, the Barton and Natasha fight is like, that's a movie fight scene that you would see in any other movie has a fight scene. It's that. This is probably the least of the fight scenes we have in all of it, but this is still a great fight scene. Like, it's a really kick-ass fight scene.
Yeah, and it's and I love the bit where she's shell-shocked until she hears that Barton is doing some shit, and that's what brings her out of the shell shock.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go handle some business I need to handle, and I can handle.
Right.
And that's how she gets out of the Hulk terror.
That's true.
And and then like she's fine with it later when Bruce shows up and says and apologizes, and she's like, no, we could use a little worse. And that's back when the alien invasion starts.
Yeah. Then the Coulson threat, gun, stabbed. Coulson, he's got the gun.
The heartbreak.
That's a sad moment. Yeah. And that's when I started asking him, but I think he has an answer. I was like, how is Loki doing all this? He teleports. What's his power called? And you guys are saying magic. Right? It's just like...
Yeah, he's like a sorcery kind of guy. He's all about misdirection, and he's all about mischief. He's the god of mischief. Mm-hmm. So and I think like they sort of harped on that in the first Thor movie, which is like Loki's whole mindset is different from Thor.
Yeah.
And Thor gets all the attention, and Loki works in the shadows, and he's got a whole different way of trying to accomplish the same goals. And
Art Star, you got anything to say? Anything? I feel like you're
no. Actually, I was just thinking about the whole Loki thing, and then also like like in the comics now you have like a young Loki, and it's like you see like he's very mischievous, and
what? You have a young Loki in the comics right now,
but like the games that he plays is almost like sort of like how this Loki acts. It's like he does all of these different things, manipulates all these situations to, go in his favor. So it kind of reminds me of like this Loki here. Yeah. But like, that's all I was thinking about. I was just thinking about Loki.
Okay.
No, I was just thinking Andy was right. When you go back to the first Thor movie, even remember when he's sneaking in and out of Asgard and Heimdall's like, why would you do it under cloaking? Like, why are you doing it behind my dad's back? Why are you doing it in the shadows? Because he can see everything, right? So he's always up to something.
Yeah. Like he developed specifically ways to get in and out of Asgard that Heimdall couldn't see. And Heimdall's the guy who can see everything.
Yep. And so you learn then, like, he is up for shenanigans at all times.
All shenanigans on you.
I don't know with Loki if he has moral compass. He's all about himself.
Right.
Okay.
Now I'm curious if somehow the Loki series is going to end up with it like de-aging Tom Hiddleston or like casting someone else as a young Loki, because the teenage Loki that was in comics was also involved with the Young Avengers that may be bringing in. So that's a thing that could happen, or it could just be an alternate reality version and
we shall see.
Tom Hiddleston. I don't know. But that's just an interesting thought.
Okay. Noted, and we will put that down as a prediction. Coulson blasts him. Iron Man fixes. Loki gets away. Coulson dies. Avengers Initiative explained. Thor is in a meadow. Hulk is nude with a security guard. He has that
buck-ass nude.
He has the love scene with the security guard that was an extra. If you look at the
Harry Dean Stanton, ladies and gentlemen. Noted character actor Harry Dean Stanton in that role.
Okay. Hulk nude security guard. They have the love scene. They figure out Loki wants an audience, so he's doing this at Stark Tower. They all suit up for the final battle. Tony, Loki.
I love that bit.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Where they all figure it out.
That whole conversation where Tony and Steve, like, there's so many bits there. There's like Tony is like says, "We are not soldiers," and then he realizes he's talking to a guy who is absolutely a soldier.
Yep. Yeah.
And does not view the word as an insult like he does. So he's got to kind of check himself a little bit.
Yep.
I'm not marching to Furious Fife. And then that's where they can agree on. And I love that Tony just sort of rambling until he realizes that Loki's as big of a full tilt diva as he is. Mm-hmm. Because he's got the same. He's going to go to my house. He's going to go to my tower that I'm a diva about.
Exactly.
And doing that.
Yeah, then we get that Tony Loki convo about Avengers and all that, where he's making the drink and Loki tries.
And that's where he gets to drop the Earth's Mightiest Heroes tagline, which is the Avengers. That's the classic comic tagline is Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yeah.
And he actually says that.
Yeah, he actually says that. Yeah, and then I love the performance issues line when he's trying to turn his heart or whatever, and it doesn't work. He's like, "Oh, that's okay. We all have performance issues." Or whatever it is. And then he throws him out the window, and he deploys the new suit in the last second. That's exciting. The portal opens up, and it's on. Giant flying turtles show up. The funny bit was
not quite turtles.
Giant flying turtles.
The funny bit with Cap and the cops, that little bit where they're like, "Why should we take?"
Oh, that made me laugh.
Yeah, why should we take orders from you? And then he beats the shit out of all those monsters. Okay, we need to make a perimeter and whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, that's Captain America knows what to do. Captain America will step up and have the strategy and will have the plan.
Yeah, he's the leader.
And he's concerned with casualties.
Yep.
It's a very important thing.
Which not all Avengers are at times. So
yeah,
that's true.
I mean,
that's true.
They play that up a lot later.
Hulk comes back on the motorcycle, and then I think Natasha says, "I don't see how that's a party. I'm bringing the party to you guys.
Yeah.
I don't see how that's a party." That's probably her funniest line. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I have in all caps, badass battle. So badass is what I wrote. Like,
this is my my favorite line comes in this battle when he is giving everyone instructions on what to do, and he goes, "And Hulk, smash!"
And he does, and he's happy to do it.
The time he is just free to smash it up.
Yeah,
and then he's like jumps on the wall, and like he jumps onto the thing, and then backhands the one dude in the window, and then throws another guy out of the way, and then just swats the shit out of the guys.
Moment.
This was for me being a Hulk fan for a long time. This was so great.
Well, I also love it because on a heartwarming level, Banner as Hulk has been isolating himself from people and trying to keep himself away, calm environments, etc. This is him being accepted for who you are.
Yeah,
I'm thankful. Yo, friend, welcome. Now do your thing.
Yeah,
and that's my favorite part. He's a part of the team.
Well, and just see it in this whole sequence where it's like he's smashing everybody, and then Iron Man flies through, and then Natasha's kicking ass, and like Cap.
Yeah.
Everybody's just kicking ass together as a team. And
the teamwork that like they needed, like they showed the teamwork really well, how they all work off each other. Did Iron Man and Captain America sit down and telegraph that move where he shoots reflective energy off of his shield and just fries everybody?
Cool.
No, that's just improv.
It's improv, and it's like
it's also Tony knowing that it was
good.
one of the
awesome realistic, and
yeah,
it's just like all these moments where I'm like, oh my god, it's what a great time to live in. Like our grandparents never got to see this.
But yeah, like this was like a total nerdgasm for
I'm uniblasting here.
Yeah, it was just like, they're all together. They're all fighting aliens. This is comic books. Comic books are alive. This is the promised land for nerds.
And then
this is the good stuff.
Yeah, this is the good stuff. Hulk, that little Hulk punching Thor thing that Andy talked about after they get back into the puncher zone.
Yeah,
and I didn't get at the time. I didn't get the whole like backstory of them always fighting. I was like, why did he do that? And I kept rewinding. I was like, did I see that right? Why did he? Was it unprovoked? And then now you guys have established that they have that thing.
When we get to the other Thor movies, there's one that's my favorite because it's just them two a lot. Basically, it should have just been a buddy movie.
Yeah,
with them two.
Yeah, and then Tasha's gonna close the portal, and so she starts driving that flying thing. That was pretty cool. She jumped off of Cap's shield or whatever, and then starts stabbing those guys, and then just like she's so bad.
It reminded me of a Sky Sled from He-Man.
Yeah.
Yes,
the Sky Sled.
That's exactly what it is. It's the Sky Sled from He-Man. The civilian bank scene with Cap, the council trying to nuke the city. All these are just super exciting scenes that would be the climax each one of these would be their own climax of another movie, and they're all in this movie. That's what's so cool. Like, just him beating up that, in the bank. The council, then the council tries to nuke the city. They're arguing with Samuel L. Jackson and Hawkeye and Natasha. Hulk beat up Loki. Oh yeah. What?
Speaking of like that council, the main guy he talks to, I believe, is played by Powers Booth.
Yes, Powers Booth.
In the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, that guy turns out to be Hydra.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah.
But yeah, so there's
spoiler.
That's why they probably wanted to nuke New York with all those heroes in it.
Right. We got those guys all beating up Loki, and then the bit about I'm a god, and then Hulk smashes the shit out of Loki.
Yes.
Puny god. Yeah. Puny god.
Yeah, the one guy you're monologuing won't work on.
Yeah, exactly.
You can say all your dumb villain like you can talk as high-minded as you want. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck
that
you.
Moment, they did so
good. It doesn't even let him finish. He's like almost to the end of the speech, and Hulk's like, "I'm done."
I love it. Like Hulk doesn't have the patience for that shit. He does not care, and he hates this guy. He's mad at him. Fuck him.
I love it.
Fuck this guy. I'm the Hulk.
Yeah.
You can go back. Like I think I've said this before, but go back and try to watch audience reaction videos from that moment when it first premiered in the theater. Everyone just gasps and starts laughing their asses off. It's such a good reaction, because no one expects that.
Well,
no one expects
that sort of action. Never happened in any movies before, or any action movie, the ragdoll thing. And we used to do that. I remember doing that with action figures. That's what we would do when an action figure was beating another action figure. You would just grab him by the leg and just swing him around and smack him around.
Right.
Oh my God! What is wrong with you, man?
I play with my toys.
You're not supposed to do that with action figures. You're not supposed to do that with action figures, man.
I love that voice.
Cherish your action figures, kids.
But when Hulk says puny god, they did a great job of the animation of that, because it looks, his face and the mannerisms look just like Mark Ruffalo. He really looks like Mark Ruffalo in this. He says puny god.
Yeah.
And that was really cool, because it's a giant cartoon type of thing, but it's cool. And then we find out the scepter is the key to the portal. Somebody figures that out. They decide they're going to put the nuke in the portal, and that's a great plan. We'll take the nuke. I know where just to put it. And then we have the end bit where we do that. We think Tony's gone. And then he falls back in, and then we have the end. And the Stan Lee cameo, superheroes in New York City. And that's the end. And I love seeing Stark and Banner drive off together, the two nerds in the car.
And note the Hulk is the one that saved him from falling to his death.
Yeah.
Hulk's the one who saved him, because it was gonna be Thor. He was whipping his thing around, but he didn't get there in time.
Yeah. But Hulk's the hero. That's the point, is a Hulk at his heart wants to save people.
And he has a group who accepts him, so it's not a hard choice for him to jump in and do the right thing. Again, on an emotional level, this was really good for Hulk's heart.
Yeah, it was.
Yep. And then we get
because he's more than a monster, which obviously he is. I mean, he is not just a monster, but
yeah.
Now he has a gang.
The classic Frankenstein monster.
Yeah.
The classic trope.
Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, and the Wolfman all rolled into one.
You know.
And then we get the post-credit scene, the Thanos, right? The Thanos post-credit scene.
Yeah, that's the first time we see Thanos. That's the first time we know. Oh, we're gonna do this. Are we? Or is this just a joke? And then the whole line, the whole thing, they are not the cowering wretches we were promised.
Yep.
To challenge them is to court death. That is a callback to the fact that in comics, Thanos is actually in love with the metaphysical embodiment of death.
Yeah.
Like, who was just like a skeleton in a robe that just sort of just appears when people are murdered. Like, he is, for some reason, in love with that, is like sort of nihilistic and just is trying to impress the actual embodiment of death and that's why he murders shit all the time.
So let me ask you this, if you guys could...
And that's why there's that little smile, like he turns around and smiles like, I'll court death because I'm totally into that.
Yeah.
But that by the time they get around to making Thanos a full character, like it's like that doesn't really work for the MCU.
Yeah, there's no time to show his kinks in the MCU.
Yeah, and we don't have a lot of time to delve into. I mean, they've barely hinted at the celestial, the super cosmic aspects of it. We got some of it in Guardians of the Galaxy. We kind of see the celestial beings, but like there's a whole layer of cosmic Marvel that we haven't gotten close to yet.
At this point, or
today,
total. I mean, like there's plenty of cosmic Marvel that happens especially by the time Endgame happens. But there's like a layer of it, like a super metaphysical, like the big picture shit that Jack Kirby helped invent, and Jim Starlin and a lot of the cosmic creators that has not been touched yet, which we might get if we eventually get Silver Surfer and Galactus showing up.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But
so that okay, another dumb question that just brought up. So that Silver Surfer movie that was out, that's not in the MCU.
It is not.
No.
Another question.
No. We have not seen a Silver Surfer or a Fantastic Four or Galactus in the MCU yet. Although they just released this video, this little compilation video, sort of announcing the future slate for the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
And while technically it's Phase 4, they ended the montage of here's what's coming with a little 4, Marvel Studios 4. And like you could say, oh, that's Phase 4. Or is the Fantastic Four? What does 4 mean?
Oh, yeah! Yeah. All right, one more question I had about Thanos. So, and then we'll end this whole thing.
All right.
So, you said that this was our first glimpse at Thanos in
yeah.
So,
correct.
Was this the first time or did nerds already have a feeling because they knew? Oh, Chitauri are related to Thanos.
This was a surprise to everybody because it was barely in it. It was like one scene of him turning to the camera.
Like nobody knew
sort of
like
smiling.
Chitauri wasn't already associated with Thanos. It was like
no, not really.
So this was a big
Chitauri. Yeah, this was a huge reveal, and it was like.
Also, you have to think. Even if some things are associated, Joe, in the comments, it's not always going to make the movie. So there are some things you can guess will be in the movie, but there's a lot we spent all of WandaVision trying to figure out who's the big bad, and it ended up not being a super big bad because they kept the story here. So even you don't know what they will give us.
I just feel like now maybe it wasn't exactly the same then. And what was this? 2011,
12. I think was it 12?
But you know how now it seems like there's so much speculation on the internet now. Like everything that's coming out, they're talking about. It could be this, it could be that, it could be this, it could be that, and somebody's going to be right because they've said everything. So
the speculation was there before,
before, right? So this was before,
but the web wasn't what it was.
Yeah, so
the speculation this was the Avengers movie was the culmination of what we had known that they would plan. Like, if this works, if this succeeds, if everyone likes enough of this, and the Avengers movie, which is the grand experiment, bringing all these characters we introduced in other movies together in this one, if this works, then we can do that.
So now we can do what we had. Now we're living in the. We know this is a thing now. Like now we're living in or basking in this the universe.
At the time they were doing 2 movies a year.
Exactly.
And this year we've got 4.
Yeah.
But this was after this was the next year was Iron Man 3 and I think Thor 2 and that was it.
We're still in the beginning. I mean, it's still Phase 1. It's the end of Phase 1. It's still in the experimental. Gee, we hope this works. Phase of things.
So by Phase 20, will it be a new movie every month?
Yes, Joe. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. By the time that rolls around, I'm sure.
I don't know. We'll be alive
every day. Every day.
But Technology is forever evolving, and the way we take in entertainment is forever evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tiffany,
that's true.
Sum up Avengers in one syllable.
One syllable?
That's already 3.
No, he said sum up
in one syllable is 5 syllables. Andy, you dumbass. No, sum it up in one sentence.
The first of his kind and awesome.
Boom. Okay.
So one word is nerdgasm.
There you go.
Now we've got a lot. Nerds at Denny's were all happy. Their lives have come to fruition. I've got to think there was a lot of nerds that left this after maybe their 8th viewing of this, and it was like, I can die happy. This is all I've ever wanted. You know?
Yeah, I remember coming out of it, and the friends I saw it with were like, "Yeah, that just easily took the title of best comic book movie of all time." Which before that was The Dark Knight,
which was fantastic.
Yeah, but this was like, it popped. It had humor. It had gravitas. It had it had the action you want that felt important. And not just let's do shooties for shooty times or whatever.
Yeah.
And it had all the banter you wanted out of books, like these characters with histories, decades.
Banter is my fave.
This was,
and this concludes phase 1.
That is correct.
Nerd School.
It ends phase 1.
It's like the end of a semester.
Yeah.
It is end of your semester. Pop quiz coming soon. Okay.
About the president no more, but evidently they don't see we in the streets still poor. Still more incarceration of my kinsmen by the prisons, and people thinking this election to end racism. Proud over pessimism, glad to see Obama, but don't expect me not to speak out when I still see problems.
The Nerd Skool Podcast.
Nerd Skool is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Now offering video visits so you can take control of your orthopedic care from the comfort of your home. Schedule online at orthocarolina.com. Ortho Carolina, you improved.
Listen, people can make fun of me for my holiday movies all we want to, but I'm like, are you alive? Did I fuss at you today? Did I yell about anything? All right, then. You're welcome. You better thank Hallmark for keeping me safe.